Stop ignoring the rumors. Room 13 is real and it's terrifying. For years, whispers have circulated through the halls of Briarwood Elementary, each more chilling than the last. The stories are passed down from one generation of students to the next, growing more elaborate and terrifying with each retelling. But at the heart of every tale is a kernel of truth that no one can deny. Listen closely. You won't believe what happens there. The air grows thick with tension whenever Room 13 is mentioned, and even the bravest of students feel a shiver run down their spine. It's a place shrouded in mystery and fear, a place where the normal rules of the world seem to bend and break. Everyone in Pine Grove knew Miss Albright, the third-grade teacher at Briarwood Elementary. She was a fixture in the community, a woman who seemed to have been teaching for as long as anyone could remember. Her reputation preceded her, and every student knew that to cross Miss Albright was to invite trouble. She was strict, always on time, and always watching. Her eyes seemed to see everything, and her presence commanded respect and fear in equal measure. She had a way of making even the most confident students feel small and insignificant, and her punishments were legendary. But the real mystery? What happened to the students sent to Room 13? It was a place of whispered secrets and unspoken fears, a room that seemed to exist outside the normal flow of time. No one knew exactly what went on inside, but everyone knew that it was a place to be avoided at all costs. Room 13 was in the basement, at the end of a dimly lit hallway. The journey to Room 13 was a trial in itself, a walk through shadows and flickering lights that seemed to stretch on forever. The air grew colder with each step, and the silence was broken only by the distant echoes of footsteps and the occasional creak of the old building settling. Kids who went there came back quiet, obedient, and strangely pale. They were changed in ways that were hard to describe, their eyes haunted by something they couldn't or wouldn't talk about. They moved through the halls like ghosts, their former selves lost to whatever horrors they had faced in Room 13. One day, Lily, a curious girl, was sent there for passing notes. Lily was known for her inquisitive nature, always asking questions and pushing boundaries. She had heard the stories about Room 13, but like many before her, she didn't truly believe them. That is, until the day she found herself standing at the entrance to the dreaded room. As she walked down that dreaded hallway, her heart pounded. Each step felt like a journey into the unknown, and the shadows seemed to reach out to her, pulling her deeper into the darkness. She could feel the weight of the stories pressing down on her, and for the first time, she began to understand the fear that had gripped so many before her. The door to Room 13 was heavy and oppressive. It loomed before her like a sentinel, guarding the secrets within. The wood was old and scarred, and the handle was cold to the touch. As she reached out to open it, she felt a chill run through her, as if the door itself was warning her to turn back. Inside, it was cold with cracked walls and a desk covered in names. The room was a stark contrast to the rest of the school, a place where time seemed to have stood still. The walls were covered in graffiti, the names of countless students who had come before her etched into the wood. The air was thick with the scent of dust and decay, and the silence was almost deafening. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, and the room plunged into darkness. Lily's breath hitched. She was enveloped in a darkness so complete that it felt like a physical presence pressing in on her from all sides. Her heart raced, and she could hear the blood pounding in her ears. She reached out, trying to find something to hold on to, but there was nothing but emptiness. She heard a faint scratching from the blackboard. It was a sound that sent shivers down her spine, a slow, deliberate noise that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. She turned towards the sound, her eyes straining to see in the darkness, but all she could make out were faint shapes and shadows. Words appeared. "I was here. Help us." The message was scrawled in a shaky hand, the letters uneven and jagged. It was a cry for help, a plea from someone who had been trapped in this place long before her. The words seemed to glow in the darkness, a beacon of fear and desperation. A pale, hollow-eyed boy emerged, pointing to the desk where Lily's name was now scratched. He was a ghostly figure, his skin almost translucent, and his eyes empty and hollow. He moved with a slow, deliberate grace, as if he was not entirely of this world. He pointed to the desk, and Lily saw her own name scratched into the wood, a mark of her presence in this place of nightmares. Then the door creaked open. The sound was loud in the silence, a groaning, creaking noise that seemed to echo through the room. It was a sound that promised both escape and further terror, and Lily felt a surge of hope and fear in equal measure. Miss Albright stood there, her eyes darker than ever. She was a figure of authority and fear, her presence filling the room with a sense of dread. Her eyes seemed to bore into Lily, seeing through her and into the very depths of her soul. There was something different about her, something darker and more menacing than Lily had ever seen before. "It's time to go back to class, Lily," she said calmly. Her voice was smooth and even, but there was an edge to it, a hint of something sinister lurking beneath the surface. Lily felt a chill run through her, and she knew that whatever had happened in room 13, it was far from over. The next day, Lily returned, pale and silent. She was a shadow of her former self, her curiosity and spirit crushed by whatever horrors she had faced. She moved through the halls like a ghost, her eyes empty and haunted. The other students watched her with a mixture of fear and pity, knowing that she had been changed in ways they could never understand. No one asked what happened. They were too afraid. The stories of Room 13 had taken on a new life, and the fear of what lay within its walls was stronger than ever. The students avoided Lily, not out of cruelty, but out of a deep-seated fear that whatever had happened to her could happen to them as well. Miss Albright never aged, never changed. She was a constant presence, a figure of authority and fear that seemed to defy the passage of time. Her eyes were as sharp and watchful as ever, and her punishments were just as severe. She was a reminder of the power and mystery of Room 13, a living embodiment of the fear that gripped the school. And Room 13? Once you go in, you're never quite the same. It was a place of nightmares, a room where the normal rules of the world no longer applied. The stories of what happened within its walls were as varied as they were terrifying, but they all shared one common thread. Once you entered Room 13, you were changed forever. The fear of the unknown, the terror of what lay within, was enough to keep even the bravest of students away. And so, the legend of Room 13 lived on, a chilling mystery that would haunt the halls of Briarwood Elementary for generations to come.